Hey, how's it going? I want to talk to you about something that has been on my mind a little bit lately, and I'm sure it maybe is on your mind as well in the current world that we're in. Do you ever feel like sometimes there's just too much information? Like it's just, how can you actually apply all this information? I mean, it's so good. There's so many rich resources online and the internet. There's all this different, these videos. I mean, now on YouTube, like there's videos that are 20 and 30 minutes, an hour long. I mean, you could take entire, courses on anything. You could do anything you want now, but there's a lot of information. And we're also bombarded and distracted by our cell phones, by text messages, and there's books. There's books everywhere. You can get books anywhere now. Amazon, you can go to your local bookstore. And what I've learned over the course of time is that sometimes we have a propensity to learn and not do and not take action. And I've learned that the better way to approach learning is to have a vision and have some kind of direction or aim to what you're doing. Don't just get up and just do stuff because you think it's just something to do. But no, have a vision, have a goal, have an aim, have a desired outcome. And just put the books away, turn off the internet, write what you want to do down, and maybe you can track a few of the things that you want to do maybe over the course of the day. Maybe it's make a certain amount of calls or go see someone face to face. I actually had at one point, I realized that they're really only in business and communicating with people, there's only really like a handful of really direct actions that you can do. One is you can meet somebody face to face. You can make a phone call. You can write an email. You can send a text. And very rarely you could also write a letter that is still considered an action. And you can but to continue that action, you'd have to write that letter, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and send it off. Now, a lot of people will read and consume information about a particular topic or endeavor or something that they want to do, and then never take any even tiny action toward it. But what I want you to remember to do right now is decide what you want to do, decide what you want, and realize that you can achieve anything because you have the belief. You got to generate the state, the belief that you can do whatever it is. I remember the first time that I just tried selling for the first time. I was 12 years old. I wanted a Super Nintendo with the color TV, and my mother, at the time was a little tight with the cash flow. So I said, you know what? My friends and I, we're going to go out and we're going to get this money. I said, what are we going to do? I said, you know what? Why don't we rake yards? It's the fall, there's leaves around, we'll clean up and rake yards. I got a couple of my friends together. We said, you know what? We'll charge them a price, like maybe $20, and then we'll split it two ways. It was always good when it was two of us because then we could each take 10, and it's not bad for a couple hours of work for some kids. So I remember getting out there and doing that. There wasn't any books on entrepreneurship. There wasn't any specific coaching on how to generate cash. There wasn't any constant YouTube videos about our emotional past and how we should, develop ourselves and, all the great things that we know now. We didn't have any of that. I just knew that I wanted a Super Nintendo and a color TV so I could play the NBA. I think the game was NBA Jam at the time. I wanted to play that and have the color because at the time I had a little black and white TV. It was just pure, simple desire. And I remember that time that we did that fall, and we did it once. We knocked on some doors. They were like, no, go away. We don't need anything, And there was a couple of people like, yeah, and the action itself inspired certain people to want us to actually come and clean up their yard, even though they may not have needed it, because maybe they were generous and they just wanted to help us out as kids. But or maybe they admired and respected the fact that we got up off our asses and did that. I remember one time I was also walking in Miami, and I just, I think, was washing some clothes or something like that. I had some change in my hand. And this lady was by the bus stop, and she said, do you have a quarter? I mean, shit, I had a handful of quarters. So I gave her a quarter. kept walking. You know, she wanted a quarter. I had a quarter to give her. I gave her the quarter. I didn't really think much about giving her more than a quarter. She didn't ask for anything but a quarter. Okay, and then that same afternoon, I was walking with the same change in my hands, and I saw a guy on the street. Like, I think he was Haitian. He was doing some rituals and stuff with some bottles and different things on the street. And the guy was like, I said, you know what? I just felt like in a giving mood. I'm just gonna be this super generous person, and I'm gonna give this guy my handful of change because he could probably use it and make the most of it, you know, do something more with it right now than I can walking around with this big handful of change, and I wanted to be in a giving mood. He said, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. I was like, man, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or say you need anything. I just feel like giving this to you, you know? And I was like starting to get pissed off, like, why is this guy receiving my gift? And then basically, he said, no, like pointing me like, give it to somebody else. Like, maybe he's so spiritual and whatever he was doing in his rituals, he doesn't need money, he doesn't want money. And I was like, you know what? This is not fun. I don't want to do this anymore. So I just left. So as I'm walking, what's so funny was on the bridge, there was this girl and she was selling balloons. She was selling some kind of like big festive balloons, but she was hustling between the cars that were parked and everything and all this stuff. And I said, hey, how much are those balloons? And she said they were like, you know, $5 or something like that. I think I had about $5 worth of change or close to it. And I said, you know what? Here. Just because I respect what you're doing out here. Here's the money. Now, had she not taken action and not been out there and not hustling and not doing something, I might not have felt that. I might not have ever seen her. Secondly, she got to keep her balloon and keep selling, or the balloons that she had. She got just cash that she could use. But she got more. So my point is that the person that just asked for one quarter from me got a quarter. The person that like was ungrateful and rejected me got nothing. And the girl that didn't even ask for anything but came to me to sell something got the money and kept her product. That's the power of action. So I just want to leave you with that and just remind you, just go out there and take action, whatever it is. You know, I've done performing with music, I've done public speaking, personal training, building my own websites. I've always tried to push my boundaries and limits, but a lot of the way that I've been able to do that is just to jump in feet first. I remember the first time I did a personal training session, I wasn't finished with my certification. All I knew how to train was myself. I didn't know how to prevent injury with this woman and her body and make sure she was doing okay. But I had to do it because if I didn't get a feel for it, if I didn't get a chance to get in there, I wouldn't know how to course correct. So take action, have a general good idea of what you want, course correct. And what I do is I use my library of knowledge for reference when I run into a problem after I've been taking action. That's very good for relationships and dating as well. You may have a certain frustrating thing that happened to you emotionally, or somebody did you wrong, or you can't figure out why you can't get your business partners to understand something because you're there taking action. Now you can write the problem down and say, you know what? I cannot get an agreement on XYZ. How do I get agreement with people in this scenario? Then you can go back to your books and your monstrous deposit of information and you can extract maybe some solutions, and then you go back and try it again. So that's my little, I guess, brief talk on taking action when you're surrounded by overwhelm and you're in a place where you just feel like you're overwhelmed with information. Take the action. Visualize, take the action, understand why you're taking the action, and then get the course correction and feedback when you run into the barriers. You'll be much happier and you'll be much more relaxed about all the books you have and all the ebooks you have and all the data that's on your computer and on all the websites in Google. All right, so next time we'll talk again about some other details. Talk to you soon.